Hello and welcome back to another episode of Money with Min. As I mentioned last time, we're moving into a new house, we're moving into a new studio. So as you can see up here, we got some new cool floating shelves just installed. So you'll be seeing a lot more of the office, a lot more of the studio coming up in future videos. And if you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. But either way, please consider subscribing as it really helps out this channel. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Evergrande, and I'm going to try to explain this in the simplest possible way. And I hope to explain this in under 10 minutes. So if I'm able to pull that off, please give this video a like and share with a friend. So in this quick video, I want to explain 4 different topics. 1, what is Evergrande? 2, how did we see this coming? 3, how will this impact the Chinese economy? And 4, how will this affect you as an investor? So the first part is, what is Evergrande? So think about Evergrande as one of the largest development companies in China, building houses and real estate for citizens as well as companies across the entire country. And Evergrande has over 2,000 employees that they work with directly, over 4 million subcontractors that are building these projects across the nation. And currently they have 1.5 million homes that have yet to be built for people who currently have down payments on those homes. Now that's an important part here. And as the largest Chinese real estate developer, Evergrande cannot pay their interest payment this month. Like imagine paying your credit card monthly and then you can't afford the monthly payment. Now that's a huge problem, but multiply that by 1 billion and this is what we have with Evergrande. Because Evergrande does not have enough cash and assets to pay off its current debts, we're in a really big situation here where they could default on their loans and really cause the Chinese economy to really spiral into a downturn. But could we have seen this coming? The answer is actually yes. So while the name Evergrande is relatively new to regular people like me and you just this week, this crisis has been building up for the past several years. And when I first heard about this Evergrande crisis and the housing bubble in China about to pop, it really reminded me of several videos I've watched in the past, which I'll link down below. And here's a short clip of one of those videos I remember.
I know people that were earning 1,000 RMB or less a month. Your average factory worker living in the dormitories earning around 3,000 RMB a month. This is not a lot of money, and yet this city has the most expensive real estate in the entire country. So how can someone earning around 12,000 US dollars a year afford a house that costs over 9,000 US dollars a square meter? Let me put that to you again. A 90 square meter apartment, that's around 968 square feet, costs around 828,000 US dollars. That's getting close to $1 million for an apartment the size of a living room.
And the way this housing bubble has grown to the state it is in 2021 sort of makes sense. So with the massive economic growth of China in the past decade or so, it makes sense that there are a lot of people that are coming from the country and moving to the city. And with that huge migration of a population, you need more and more housing. And because of this incoming housing boom, Chinese citizens and investors started investing heavily into this housing market. And this got even worse after 2015 when the Chinese stock market saw this huge crash and people lost confidence in how to invest in stocks. So rather they turned their money into real estate wholeheartedly. And what I mean by this is that Chinese citizens and investors alike threw all their money possible to buy these houses that weren't even built. So to give you a sense of how crazy these prices are, think about this. So imagine being a Chinese citizen making between $30,000 and $50,000 a year, but looking to buy a house to invest in. So imagine about 1,000 square foot apartment, if you're lucky, going for north of $800,000 US, close to $1 million in some cases. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are 1.5 million homes that have been purchased, but have yet to be finished construction. With Evergrande on the brink of insolvency, who knows if these homes will ever be built and if these people will lose their down payments or not. So that leads me to the third topic, which is what will China do about this? So there's at least 2 situations that can happen here. One is the Chinese government in China does nothing and lets Evergrande fail. And that situation is what people compare to Lehman Brothers in the US in 2008, which caused the Great Recession. Evergrande will collapse, millions of people will lose their money, millions more will lose their jobs, and the rippling effects are really unknown. But what likely will happen is that if China allows this to fall, then the Chinese economy will spiral downwards, which is something they definitely do not want because their economic growth has been so strong in the past few years. But the other option is for China to bail out Evergrande, to give them some more money to keep them afloat, and they keep this bubble going until they figure out how to normalize this economy. So on one hand, this could be a huge detrimental hit to the Chinese economy, but on the other hand, this could be propping up this housing bubble that we all know exists and is actually really unhealthy for the economy as well. So now to the last section, how will this affect you as an investor? And this is one of the cases where this is an answer of, we'll have to wait and see. So this all started because Evergrande notified the government and their lenders that they couldn't make their interest payment this week. They missed their payment, but they have 30 days to figure out what the next steps are. So if you're watching this as a non-Chinese citizen, a non-Chinese investor, the question probably is how this impacts your portfolio outside of China. So Evergrande is this huge real estate development company that has lots of supply chain dependencies in other companies all over the world. So those relationships alone could have this huge rippling effect across the entire international economy and international stock markets as well. You can see the first signal of this earlier this week when the news was first announced. You see this huge crash in the US stock market just a few days ago. But since that red day, it popped back up, so we'll have to see what happens next. And the biggest thing to remember is that global economies, especially the stock market, often operate on emotion rather than logic. Now, if you look at the US stock market and the index, very few companies are that exposed to Evergrande in a big way, meaning fractions of a percentage point actually invested. So even if Evergrande goes completely belly up, the index funds and the markets here should stay relatively healthy and unimpacted. However, as we've seen in the past many times, the stock market operates on emotion more so than numbers. And the fear of Evergrande becoming insolvent, of the Chinese economy coming into a crash, this really impacts the global economy at a massive scale. So while we don't know what's going to happen, my advice here is to watch the news very carefully, adjust your portfolio as needed, but realistically, if you're investing, keep this in for the long term. Check this out. Look at this graph over the last year of investing. This little blip in Evergrande is really nothing in the big picture of things. And it's not out of the question that we'll see huge movements in the coming weeks, potentially huge correction coming soon as well. But overall, my advice is always to hold long, be patient, and play the long game. So that does it for this video. I hope you learned something today. And if you did, please let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, please give this video a like. And if you want to see more content like this to learn about financial markets, as well as how to get wiser with your money in general, definitely consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.